Well, hello there, and welcome to this video. My name is Mark Miles, and today's video is all about how do you, as a trainer, facilitator, or a person that's leading a seminar, deal with people that show up and are potentially heckling you as you deliver a presentation. Okay, so hecklers can show up in many different shapes and forms, and essentially, it's the kind of person that is looking to derail the process or be a little bit disruptive in how they handle themselves and how they show up in your learning environment. Okay, so in today's video, I want to talk to you about 7 simple things that you can do in order to minimize their impact on your teaching flow, so to speak. Okay, so this question actually came out of one of the students that I was actually working with saying, how do I deal with hecklers in my online training? And what I'm going to share with you is certainly going to be applicable to the online environment. It's also going to be applicable to the face-to-face training environment as well. So a couple of things to remember with hecklers, okay? So first of all, I want to say, do not take it personally. One of the worst things that you can do is take it as a reflection of you as a trainer, because hecklers are always going to exist. And that's just totally fine. That's just the nature of reality. Okay. So, and in my world and my language, I will call them the activists, so to speak. And they're the people that do like to get a little bit of extra attention, and at the same time, in a very objective sense, they are looking to be able to poke holes through arguments or poke holes through theories or poke holes through what's actually being taught. And in a very positive sense, that can be a really great thing for us as a trainer to be able to learn from and see if there's any holes in what we are doing. But on the, I guess, nasty sense, a heckler who is there just to derail the process, well, yes, they are going to always exist. And that's okay in the sense of everybody is perfect and beautiful. Everybody learns in different ways, and everyone needs, wants, and desires attention in different ways as well. Okay. Now, let's go into it a little bit further. So, first thing, do not take it personally. Second, know that they are always going to exist, and even the pros get them. Okay. It's not just you that might be getting hecklers. Okay. Next, thing to keep in mind is a really, 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 really important point. The more you react, the more they will. Okay. The more you react, the more they will. So, what we need to get very consciously aware of is what is our reaction to the heckler when something is said or when they do something. Okay. So, those are just some mindset pieces I want to share with you, first of all, before we go into the strategies. Okay. So, strategy wise, here's 7 simple things that you can do in order to minimize the impact of a heckler. So, number one is definitely set your ground rules. Make sure that you've set the social understanding in the group, in the seminar, or in the training room. What is the expected behavior? Okay. So maybe you have a ground rule around showing respect to others. Maybe you have a ground rule around and creating an optimal learning environment. Okay. Maybe you have a ground rule around proactive and positive discussion. Okay. Whatever it might be. But you want to set those ground rules so that it sets the expectation that everybody's going to collaborate together. Okay. Now, next one. You can certainly make a joke of it and you can banter back and forth with the person. But my caveat around that is be very careful, because if you joke too strongly or you banter the wrong way, you'll not just get that person offside even more, but you'll also get the entire audience offside. Okay. And this really comes down to how you respond. And if you respond in a very authoritarian way, that's not going to go down too well. Okay, so you don't want to create the image of the high school teacher saying, stop that, or yelling, or different things like that, right? The more you react, the more they're going to react. So be very careful not to treat it too seriously, so to speak, and overt. You want to be covert in these strategies. Okay, so next strategy is, ideally, if you can, create a number of activities where you actually move the heckler around the room and get different people working with this person, over time, you will find that their attitude will become more and more positive as different people work with them. Their tone is going to shift, their behavior is going to shift as they notice that everybody else is playing positively in the room. Why wouldn't they? Okay. Next one. One great question you can ask is, if somebody is a little bit negative or heckling or disagreeing with what you're saying, a great question to ask them is, what's your thought process around that? What's led you to say that? Or what's created that thought in your mind? Hear them out, see what they say, and acknowledge their opinion, because as part of them heckling, so to speak, they have a need, want, and desire for attention, but also to be heard. And you want to create an air in the room where it's okay to share different opinions and different thoughts. So asking the question, what's your thought process around that, is another great strategy. Okay. Next one is, be even more precise with your questions. Okay. So you might throw out a question such as, would you agree that Donald Trump was the best president in America? Okay. Now, that's probably not going to land very well, and you may get some hecklers, and you may get some odd reactions to that question, right? But we can finesse, and I use that question just as an example, right? Just as an example, we can finesse the question, and we could say something instead which could be more agreeable, to the point such as, would you agree that Donald Trump was a rather controversial president in the eyes and minds of many people out there? Okay. Now, everybody's going to agree with that statement, I would say. Okay. So be even more precise with your questions to the audience, and be able to create agreement on demand. Okay. Now, the next thing that we need to think about is, how much airtime do we actually give the heckler? How much airtime do we actually give them? And really think about, okay, if there is a heckling situation, do I respond or do I ignore it and move on? And ignoring it and moving on is a great strategy as well. Now, next one. Next one I call hold the frame. Hold the frame. Okay. Now, all of these strategies I've shared with you, they come back to calibration. Okay. Now, that is the idea of knowing the right tool to use at the right time, based on the level of rapport that you have with the individual and the group. Okay. More so the group, because you never want to sacrifice the learning environment for the sake of just one individual. Okay. And the strategy I want to share with you now is called hold the frame. Okay. Now, essentially, I want to illustrate this one with a story. Okay. So I was delivering a training session in Melbourne, and I was delivering a training session. I had 25 people in a room, and just as we were starting, this was at a hotel venue. It was probably about 4 or 5 minutes into the session. We had a hotel employee knock on the door, and one of my participants actually got up, answered the door, and said, "You can't come in. We are cooking crystal meth." Okay. He closed the door, and the entire room erupted into laughter. Okay. And it was, for them, it was a very funny joke. And it was very funny because it was very unexpected, and it certainly broke the ice of the room, so to speak. But the thing was, I needed to, in that moment, make a conscious decision. How was I going to respond? How was I going to respond to this particular person that had got up there and done that? Now, I knew that I had to hold the frame, so to speak. Now, holding the frame basically is setting the tone of the room. Now, in that moment when everybody else was laughing, I was not. I was not. Externally, I was not. Internally, I was cracking up, and I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. However, externally, I was not. Externally, I was projecting the mindset of, have you finished? Are we ready to go now? Have we finished having our fun? Are we ready to go? Are we ready to have an amazing experience? Are we ready to transform lives? Are we ready to get what we came here to get? And I was looking to transform that moment and hold the space of this is a world-class learning environment, and that, okay, cool, we've had our fun, let's move on. Okay. So whenever I get heckling, I'm always thinking in the back of my mind, have you finished? Have you finished? Have you finished? Now, I will not overtly say that. However, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, okay, have you finished? Because we got to move on. We got to achieve some great things. And there may be times where I may say, awesome, that was a really funny joke, but would it be okay if we stayed on task and we just nailed this session and everybody got what they came here to get? And sometimes that may be that overt, but very rarely will I have to call someone out to that degree. Okay. So with hecklers, there's a number of things that I've shared with you in this video that you can certainly implement, apply, and try. See what happens, knows what works for you, what doesn't. But the biggest thing that I just want you to always keep in the top of your mind is the more you react, the more it will create issues. So you want to deal with these, deal with the heckler occurrences and instances in a very subtle way if you can. And also know that people need, want, desire to be heard. And if it is getting malicious, then certainly it may require having a one-on-one conversation with that person outside the learning environment or outside the learning sphere. Okay, so those are just some thoughts on how to deal with hecklers. Hopefully, one of those may work for you. If not, two or three may work for you. If you've got any questions on how to deal with specific situations or scenarios, feel free to put them in the comments below. Certainly like and share this video. I'd love you to do that. But know that hecklers, it's something that is going to be faced by all presenters, and trainers, facilitators, coaches, mentors. You are always going to know that within your room, there may be that one odd person here or there that is going to show up that has that need of wanting to be heard. And the way that they do that is in a little bit of a fun and gimmicky way. And that's okay. That's just their, I guess, need set and what how they really show up in a learning environment. But also once they've had that need met, that need can dissipate as well. Okay, so use your professional judgment and use some of these strategies to see what will work for the different audiences that you work with. All right, on that note, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye for now.